Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Police Commissioner urges public to seek help to resolve domestic disputes. The Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, is renewing his call for persons to seek non-violent means to settle conflicts after a policeman was allegedly shot and killed by his wife during a domestic dispute in Manchester on Monday. He is urging members of the public to make use of the Jamaica Constabulary Force Domestic Violence Intervention Centers across the island, as well as other available programs such as mediation, dispute resolution, and restorative justice centers. In the meantime, the Police High Command is expressing condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of the slain police constable, 41-year-old Damien Blair. The Mandeville Police say about 6:25 p.m., Blair was reportedly shot inside his home by his wife. He ran from the house but collapsed at the gate, where further wounds were inflicted to him with a hammer. The police were summoned, and upon their arrival, Blair was seen lying in a pool of blood. His wife was also found inside the house in a pool of blood with a laceration to her wrist. Blair was pronounced dead at hospital, while the wife is admitted in stable condition. Mentally ill man killed during alleged altercation with cops. A man who is said to be of unsound mind was allegedly fatally shot by a policeman at a bar in Betheltown, Westmoreland on Monday afternoon after he reportedly attacked and stabbed the cop's colleague. The deceased has been identified as Dwayne Clark of a Betheltown address. It is reported that about 5:45 p.m., Clark and another man got involved in a dispute inside a bar when the police were called to quell the matter. On reaching the location, one of the cops was in the process of reprimanding Clark when Clark allegedly attacked him with a stool. The policeman fell to the ground, and Clark reportedly took out a knife which he used to stab the policeman in his face and chest before he, Clark, was fatally shot by the policeman's colleague. Director of Complaints at the Independent Commission of Investigation, Errol Chato, said the commission is aware of the incident and is probing. Man charged with vehicular manslaughter of 2-year-old girl has case to answer. A parish judge has ruled that St. Catherine motorist Myron Owens has a case to answer for his involvement in a vehicular accident in which 2-year-old Crystal Brown was killed last year. When the accused appeared in the St. Catherine Parish Court on Tuesday, Senior Parish Judge Jacqueline Wilcott said a prima facie case had been made out against Owens. The matter is scheduled to continue in the St. Catherine Circuit Court on July 7. It is alleged that on July 23, 2022, the accused was driving a motor car when it got out of control and pinned 4 people to a wall. When the vehicle was removed, Crystal Brown was dead, while the others were hospitalized. An investigation was launched by the Sagoville police, and Owens was arrested. He was subsequently charged with manslaughter. Man gets life in prison for murder of Manchester supermarket owner during robbery. The Clarendon mechanic who was involved in the murder of supermarket owner Leo in Perth, Manchester last December was yesterday afternoon sentenced to life in prison. Ajay Fraser, 22, will serve 15 years before he is considered for parole. Justice Leighton Pusey handed down the sentence after Fraser pleaded guilty in the Home Circuit Court. Fraser also pleaded guilty to robbery with aggravation and wounding with intent and was given 10 years and 12 years respectively. He also pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making use of a firearm and was sentenced to serve 15 years each. The sentences will run concurrently. A senior prosecutor told reporters that the sentences were recommended by the prosecution after considering the early guilty plea as well as the facts of the case and certain administrative processes and enactments. The prosecutor also indicated that although the mandatory minimum for the firearm charge is 20 years under the new Firearm Act, the Director of Public Prosecutions, after careful consideration, recommended 15 years. Reports from the Mandeville Police are that about 7:30 p.m. on December 9, Fraser was with a group of men who robbed Leo. After taking an undetermined sum of cash, they shot dead the 39-year-old businessman who was a co-owner of the supermarket in southern Manchester town. They also fired wildly as they exited the building. A customer, Alfonso Cohen, who hailed from the Berrydale community in the parish, was also killed during the incident. Fraser was not asked to answer to Cohen's murder. Attorney at law Paul Jenkins represented the convict. 6 charged for St. Anne murder. 21-year-old Imara Mackenzie, otherwise called Six, of Damhead Stairtown in St. Anne, was slapped with several charges including murder for an incident dated back to July 2022. In addition to the murder charge, Mackenzie is also facing a possession of prohibited weapon charge and unauthorized possession of ammunition following the shooting death of 29-year-old Siobhan Jones, otherwise called Ziggy, of Greenwich Acres, Miami Bay in the parish on July 2, 2022. Reports from the St. Anne Bay police are that about 9:30 p.m. on Friday, July 1, Jones was at a shop in the area when he was pounced upon by Mackenzie, who opened gunfire, hitting him in the upper body. The police were alerted and Jones was taken to hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. Mackenzie was taken into custody and charged after a question and answer interview was conducted in the presence of his attorney on May 17 this year. His court date is being finalized. Manchester security guard out on bail after allegedly robbing bank customer. A Manchester security guard who allegedly conspires with others to rob a man of a knapsack containing approximately $14 million after assisting him at the bank has been released on $900,000 bail following an unsuccessful attempt by the Director of Public Prosecution (DPP) to revoke his bail. Christopher Lynn, who was also caught with an illegal weapon following the alleged incident, was offered bail on May 3 in the Manchester Parish Court on charges of robbery with aggravation, conspiracy to rob, possession of a prohibited weapon, possession of a firearm with intent to injure, and unauthorized possession of ammunition. The Crown appealed the bail offer, but the Court of Appeal threw out the application after the state prosecuting arm blundered by failing to provide the court and Lynn with a written notice within 24 hours after the bail hearing. Pursuant of Section 10 of the Bail Act, the prosecution is required to give oral notice of its intent to a decision to grant bail to a defendant at the conclusion of the hearing, and within 24 hours of that said hearing must provide the court with the defendant a written notice of the appeal. The Court of Appeal in the recently published judgment said there is no dispute that in the instant appeal, the court did not give written notice to appeal to the parish court and the respondent within the 24-hour deadline. Consequently, the judge refused the DPP's application after accepting Lynn's lawyer, Alfred Miller's main argument that the DPP had not complied with the mandatory procedural requirements of Section 10.3 of the Bail Act. The 32-year-old accused, otherwise known as Red Banks, of Eden Street, New Green in the parish, was arrested on April 5th after he was reportedly held at a restaurant in the Mandeville area with a prohibited weapon. Prior to that, it was reported that on March 7, Lynn plotted the robbery of a man who he had offered to transfer to the bank to complete a transaction. According to reports, the complainant completed his transaction and left the establishment with Lynn, who then took him to Wind Road. On reaching that location, the complainant was reportedly pounced upon by two men armed with guns. The complainant was reportedly robbed of the knapsack with the cash by Lynn and his accomplices, who then reportedly stole a motorcycle and escaped with Lynn. The matter was reported and Lynn was later charged after he was positively identified during an identification parade. According to the judge, the accused was offered bail despite objection from the prosecution that he was likely to abscond if granted bail, as he could not be found more than a month after the alleged robbery. But the parish judge noted Lynn's constitutional right to bail, stated that the ground proffered did not appear to be a sound basis for a refusal of bail, as the prosecution did not outline what steps had been taken to find Lynn. Furthermore, the parish judge said there was no allegation that he attempted to flee the island, that he was ultimately held in a public space. The DPP, in appealing the judge's action, contended that the decision of the parish court judge should be revoked, as there were substantial grounds for believing that the respondent, if released on bail, would commit an offense, and the decision was contrary to the public interest and the policy behind the Firearms Act 2022. The DPP also indicated in its appeal that the parish judge exercised her discretion inappropriately in light of the nature and seriousness of the offenses and the strength of the prosecution's case. However, during the appeal hearing, Senior Deputy DPP Jeremy Taylor KC conceded that the written notice was late, but argued that the legislative provision was written in mandatory terms and that the failure by the Crown to adhere to the strict and demanding and ridiculous time limits imposed by Parliament meant that this court would determine the appeal on procedural grounds without even considering the merits. Taylor, while noting that the statute did not make provision for an extension of time to be given if good cause is shown, however, asked the court to hear the appeal on the merit in the overriding interest of justice for the argument. The appellate judge complied but admitted that it was not necessary or appropriate to consider the merits of the appeal. The Court of Appeal judge said the Crown should also clearly provide details as to its compliance with the statutory requirements in Section 10 of the Bail Act. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell